Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, my international friends, come on in and join me as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news and all sorts of good things. We're going to have a whole bunch of tech problems today, just so you know, because we're trying a few new things out on this last show before we take a little bit of a Christmas break. So hang in there with me. And here to enjoy all of the tech issues that we're going to have on this show today is one Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, coming to us from the Robservation, or what? No, is it the Robsertorium?
The Robservatory. The Robservatory. John, this is the inaugural broadcast from the Robservatory. So I am probably your number one tech problem today, but I'm really excited to be here. I was going to debut the Robservatory on episode 300 of my own show, but you get it first. But you're going to see a lot more of it on my show because I have more cameras.
More cameras. And this is going to be, now I'm going to do a few odd little shows over the next few days, but this is going to be the last live show that you and I do together for 2019.
What a year it's been, huh?
What an absolutely crazy year it's been. And we got just a few items here today, guys, that we need to talk about for the first part of the show. And then on the second part of the show, we're just going to take all of your live questions. And how do you get one of the live questions on the show? It's simple. There's two ways you can do it. Number one, you'll find a tip link in the top line of the description of this video. You can use that tip link. You can actually use that tip link 24/7, and then we'll get around to your question the next episode that we do. But you can go on down there and use that, or you can use the super chat feature on YouTube, and we will get to your live questions on the second part of the show. But for the first part of the show, we're going to go to our main topics. Now, how do we select our main topics here on the John Campea Show? Well, that's even simpler. See, you guys also come up with our main topics, but you do so by going to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. When you guys get there, you're going to see a form, fill it out with your topic or question, hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your submission as one of our main topics here on the John Campea Show. So, with that down, let's move on to that first main topic today. And our first main topic today gets submitted to us by Joe, who writes in, with how much debt Netflix is in, estimated $12 billion, how are they able to afford expensive shows like The Witcher and so many of them, plus other shows and movies? All right, thanks for sending that in, man. And yeah, that is a question that a lot of people have been raising, Rob, when it comes to like Netflix and what they're doing, is that some people hear Netflix is in debt and others go, that can't possibly be true. That can't possibly be true. Look at how many subscribers they have at like X number of dollars a month. They have to be in the black. They must be, but nope. The reality is that Netflix is indeed in debt, and they're in debt to the tune of $12 billion. And they just added, just a drop in the bucket. And it is, by the way, Rob, an amount that they increased recently. They increased that amount recently by getting an additional $2 billion in funding. And this all comes, what makes Joe's question even more relevant is the fact that it comes on the announcement that Netflix is planning on spending upwards of $15 billion, Rob. $15 billion this coming year on original content. So the question becomes, how on earth can Netflix be affording to make all of this stuff when they are $12 billion in debt? Now, Rob, I want to give my perspective on this, and then I think you probably have a little bit of a different one, and I want to hear what yours is. But to me, think of it in terms like this. Think of it in terms of you owning or you going to college, you getting your college degree, right?
Again?
Think of it in those terms. You go to college and get your college degree. For some reason, the culture we live in doesn't value education, so we try to price as many people out of an education as we can. That aside, let's say you go to college and you get your education. Okay, now you are, congratulations, $30,000 in debt. Well done. Does that mean, though, because you're $30,000 in debt, that you can't afford to go to the movies, or you can't rent your apartment, or you can't pay the monthly lease costs on your car, or that you can't do? No, most of the time you can. You can still operate. You can still carry on and do the things in your day that you do. You can still do all that stuff. It's just that you also, on top of that, you paying your rent, paying your car payments, buying your food, going out, all that kind of stuff. You still have this $30,000 debt hanging over your head, but you got to pay that off over bit by bit. Netflix is much the same thing, just on a much grander scale. They're carrying this massive, massive debt, yes, but they still have big cash flow, so they're able to continue operate. Now, Rob, that doesn't mean that this is a system that can go on indefinitely. At some point, the people that Netflix owes all this money to may want to come calling to collect. And Netflix can't operate in perpetuity of constantly adding more and more debt and just growing in debt and pretending like everything's okay. That's got to turn around at some point. So that's a future question. But for now, that's how Netflix, just like you can operate when you have some debt, they're able to continue operating on their debt. It's just that their debt and cash flow is on a much different scale than yours and mine, like debt or cash flow is at. But it's the same basic principle. Rob, how would you address that?
Well, every movie and television show that's made goes into debt. It's a separate. Usually, films are set up as a separate LLC, and the studios they don't sit on piles of money that they just have. They borrow money from banks, and then they have to pay it back. I mean, Netflix is doing kind of the same thing en masse, and what they've got that other people don't have is they have an installed subscriber base, so they know how much money they're getting in every month from those subscribers. And as they increase their subscriber base, so let's say it's not just money they're borrowing, they got the operating costs. I mean, their headquarters is here in Hollywood. It's a very nice, lavish building. And they got a lot of people working for them in addition to everything else they're paying for in terms of their shows that they're making. But they have a monthly cash flow, so they know that what's coming in. And at least I would hope, we've talked about this on the show, but I would hope that their accountants are saying like, okay, you borrowed money, then you borrowed more money, but your installed subscriber base gives you enough cash flow that you're able to pay back those loans without, I mean, if you think about it, John, if they've got, say, 150 million subscribers and everybody's paying $10 a month, that's a lot of monthly income.
Yeah, that's that's double-digit billions every year.
Yeah, and if they can manage that, they can probably. I mean, they knew that they're going in the streaming wars. The streaming wars have. You've got Disney Plus, you've got Apple TV, you've got the Peacock about to drop, you've got HBO Max coming. So I think that probably their plan was to get as much of their installed subscriber base fat and happy with brand new programming so they could compete on a level playing field. I mean, even HBO Max said they were going to cap their annual productions at $2 billion. Netflix is like, well, hold my beer. But we'll see how that goes as it moves forward. But I think as long as Netflix retains their subscribers, now I've heard that they lost some with the beginning of Disney Plus, but the thing that Netflix has going for them is their diversified programming. They've got so much interesting stuff. I mean, documentaries and serialized shows and, competing with it. I think they're going to be okay, but, everyone's stepping up their game. The new season of The Expanse, Amazon really upped the production value of that show, and they're even shooting in different aspect ratios now. The exterior stuff looks really cinematic, and I just think hopefully people don't get greedy.
Well, look, and to muddy the waters even more, I'm starting to hear, and I can't confirm this, so don't run with it. Nobody run with this as a piece of information or story, but I'm hearing whispers that Google is looking to get into the original content game. Because now, remember, Google has played around with that with YouTube Red for a while.
Right.
But with their I've been hearing whispers that with Google's Play Store platform, that they could literally roll out a version, I'm just making up this name, like they could roll out their Google Plus with original content. So it's getting there. But all I know, Rob, is even with the cash flow, you can't be Netflix and just having that debt continue to just increase without getting some payoff for that and decreasing the debt. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all turns out. Question here is, guys, what do you think about that? Do you think Netflix is going to be able to sustain this sort of pace for much longer? Do you think you're going to see them turn things around? How do you see it? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay. With that down and out of the way, let's move on to our second main topic today. And our second main topic today gets sent in to us by Canada Rocks, who writes, "It looks like Josh Boone has confirmed on Twitter that a new Mutants trailer is coming out in January. Ladies and gentlemen, is the end of the national nightmare. And it's being reported the release date is still indeed April 3rd, 2020. After all the drama, could this film actually see the light of day? I'm cautiously excited, but is there any chance this movie will be good? Thank you so much for all your contributions to the film community, and keep up the filthy." All right, thanks a lot for saying that in Canada Rocks. And yep, the film that was originally scheduled, I believe, to come out in 2004, New Mutants, but seriously though, it was scheduled to come out years. It wasn't like a year or two ago. It was supposed to come out
2 years ago.
2 years ago, it was supposed to come out. I think we recently celebrated the 3rd anniversary of the first trailer coming out, which is just crazy when you think about it. So here we have New Mutants, right? It's on again, it's off again, all the drama with Fox. And then the drama continued as the Fox transition went over to Disney. Now, a lot of people then started saying, well, Disney's probably just going to shelf this thing. I mean, that was a common belief amongst a lot of fans, was that Disney is just going to shelf this thing. They're never going to let this movie see the light of day. They're going to shelf it and all that kind of stuff. Now, Rob, when you and I were at CinemaCon back in April, they talked New Mutants, and they had New Mutants posters around and stuff like that. So it seemed like Disney was still going to move ahead with it. With Disney Plus, a lot of people started wondering, I wonder if maybe it's not going to get a theatrical release, but instead it gets some sort of Disney Plus release. But then a number of months ago, Disney put out an updated list of their release schedule, and it still had New Mutants there. And even though it was still on that list, a lot of people still seemed to doubt, Rob. Still a lot of people doubting that this thing was actually going to see the inside of a theater. Well, it looks like this might be the thing to put that to rest, Rob. It looks like we may finally be able to put that to rest, because the director of New Mutants has come out and said a new trailer is coming in January. Actually, if you go down and take a look specifically, he writes, there we go. A brand new trailer for New Mutants is set to debut in January. A trailer for New Mutants soon, says Josh Boone, in January. So it looks like, unless Disney is going to pull a little bit of a fast one on us here, Rob, which I don't expect, and, surprise us in January with a New Mutants trailer that then says on the bottom, coming to Disney Plus in April. It actually looks like it's actually finally flipping happening. We're getting New Mutants into the theaters. Now, Rob, this is okay, because on the one hand, like, we've always known they shot New Mutants to be very separate from all the X-Men stuff.
Right. So
some people said, well, is this the final Fox X-Men film? But they always made this movie to kind of be separate from the X-Men universe anyway. So it's fine. I'll tell you what, despite all the problems, despite all the drama, and maybe I'm being a bit naive here, I still believe, Rob, that this movie can be really good. I like Josh Boone. I liked the trailer very much. Like when that New Mutants trailer came out when I was, 17 years old, I thought it was actually really good. And it felt like Fox at the time was doing what they did with both Deadpool and Logan. They took the comic book genre and decided to do something totally different with it. They did that with Deadpool, and it worked. They did it with Logan, and it worked. And it really felt like they were trying to push those boundaries again with New Mutants. Now, again, there's been a lot of rumors and reports about big drama with the movie and all that kind of stuff. But maybe I'm being naive. I still believe in this movie. So, Rob, 2 questions. Number 1, do you actually think now that the discussion is over, the movie is coming out, it's in theaters, or maybe not? Secondly, where's your faith level right now in what the quality of this movie can ultimately be?
Well, John, I'm always saying we live in interesting times. And now that we have a release date for both Black Adam and apparently
and Shazam and New Mutants. Yeah.
What are we going to talk about next year? I mean, all of these things are coming true. No, I'd heard Bill Sienkiewicz, who's one of my favorite comic book artists of all time. He went online this weekend and said that Josh Boone told him, or I guess showed him, the new trailer, and Bill Sienkiewicz created, or he was the artist when he came over to New Mutants and started drawing. When he left Moon Knight, he famously drew the Demon Bear storyline, which they've drawn heavily from for the movie, which is great because I was blown away by that storyline. It's really terrific. And he said that what he saw, he was blown away. And, you know, of course, what's he going to say, right? I know, hyperbole. but I get it. But, you know, he's not the kind of guy that I'm sure he's making money, but I'd like to believe that he's got integrity. And I think that if he's excited about it, we should be, because like you, I enjoyed the trailer. I thought it was a really bold, audacious choice to go in and not necessarily, I mean, sure, it's going to be an origin story-esque kind of a thing, but they just are jumping right into one of the most indelible comic stories from the first run of New Mutants. And I couldn't be more excited. So I really think that we might, hope, get something pretty special. And the fact that they've said it's really a horror film. And I love this idea, John. So I am cautiously optimistic. I would love to see this film. I hope it's great. I love the cast. And again, will wonders never cease? I mean, who would have thought your 17-year-old self would have to wait this long to see a New Mutants movie? But here we are.
And, you know, with the Sienkiewicz thing, I'd want to caution people the same way we did about the Richard E. Grant reaction.
Right.
Pardon me, to Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. You know, when Richard E. Grant, that tear-filled reaction he gave to seeing Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, I said, look, I have very little doubt he's being authentic and honest. But just because he's being authentic and honest, that doesn't mean I'm going to think the same thing that he does. Like, right. I think he and I said at the time, I think Richard E. Grant legitimately loves the movie that much. But that doesn't necessarily mean you and I will. So I believe Sienkiewicz is being honest. I believe he's speaking from the heart. I believe he's saying what he actually thinks. But much like the Richard E. Grant thing, that doesn't guarantee you and I are going to think the same thing that he did. So
exactly.
We'll have to wait a little bit. Question here is, guys, what do you think about this? It's a two-part question. Number one, do you actually now believe, can we actually now say that, yes, this New Mutants movie is indeed coming out? But the second question is, how good do you think it can be? Do you think it'll be another, Fox legacy film that turns out to be like Deadpool or Wolverine or X-Men Days of Future Past? Or do you think it's going to be one that turns out more like, X-Men what was it called? X-Men Dark Phoenix?
Something like that.
Well, do you think it's going to turn out to be one of those? What do you guys think? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down and out of the way, let's move on to our third and final main topic on this Christmas Eve. And our third and final main topic comes to us from Hanks Gregard, who writes, Hey, John and Rob. With 2020 almost upon us and a batch of new comic book films coming, what do you think will end up being the best comic book movies of the year? I know we haven't seen them yet, but if you had to predict, what would be your guess? Thanks, guys. All right. Thanks a lot for sending that in, Hanks. And I'm still having a hard time wrapping my head around this notion that we are just about rapidly hitting the end of the year. We're pretty much at the end of the year. And I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around the idea that we are heading into 2020. Just like a week from now, it's going to be 2020, which is kind of crazy. A week and a day or something like that. We're going to be in 2020, which is nuts. Now, Rob, this has been a box office record-breaking year. It's been a very good year for comic book films. Not all of them were great. I'm looking at you, Hellboy. Not all of them were great, but we had a lot of really good, solid comic book films this year. Obviously, we had a record-breaking year for Avengers Endgame. We had a record-breaking year for Joker, being the highest-grossing R-rated film of all time.
Who would have thought that, dude?
Who would have thought that? And by the way, a film, Rob, that is in all likelihood going to be getting a Best Picture nomination. We're about, I believe, now I don't know this for sure, but I believe we're about to hit the unthinkable. We're going to have 2 years in a row that we're going to have a comic book film nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards.
Take that, detractors.
Yeah, but it's time to us to look forward. What's coming? Now, we got 7 major comic book movies on the way, all right, in 2020. We've got Wonder Woman 1984. we got Black Widow, we got Birds of Prey, we got Morbius, we got New Mutants, we got Venom, and we've got the Eternals. Now, I don't think I'm missing any. I believe that's all 7. And so we've got this. I'll tell you this, Rob. To me,
well, we have. Did you say Bloodshot?
Oh, and I didn't say Bloodshot.
So we got, but I know it's been delayed like 3 weeks, but that's the first Valiant.
But it's still
universe.
2020, right? It's still coming out in 2020. So there you go. I gotta say, this is the first year in a number of years, in a lot of years, that I look at the upcoming slate and it's a little bit of a question mark. I think there's some good potential. Obviously, I think Wonder Woman, I think the most easy lock for what movie can we guarantee will at least be good, Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman 84 is the one that I think we can at least point at and say, I have very little doubt that that one is at least going to be good. Because you got Patty Jenkins coming back to direct it, so I've got no doubt there. That doesn't necessarily mean I think it'll be the best, but I think if all their films take their highest potential and their lowest possible worst spot, and then you just get to the middle, then I think Wonder Woman is the film that we can most put our money on will at least be good. But I don't think, it's not the one I'm going to predict is going to be the best one of the year. Because the one I think I'm going to predict could be the best one of the year is also one that could turn out to be an unmitigated disaster. But I think the potential is there. But let's look at a couple of them. I don't think the best one of the year is going to be Morbius. Although I think that film has a really high potential to be really great and really awful. And it's going to be interesting to see which way that breaks. So I'm looking forward to Morbius. I don't think it's going to be Morbius. I don't think it's going to be Black Widow. Although I got to say, my expectations for Black Widow have risen quite a bit ever since that trailer dropped. Because that trailer came out and that trailer was absolutely fantastic. So I'm down for that, but I don't think it's going to be Black Widow. I am still not on board with Birds of Prey. I'm still not on board with Birds of Prey. So potential, yes, you got Margot Robbie in there. It's a great character. You got Ewan McGregor. So clearly it has potential, but I'm still not convinced and I'm still not on board. One of the other films that I think that is most likely to be at least good alongside of Wonder Woman would be Eternals. I mean, they've got a fabulous group of filmmakers there. You've got a great cast, a great mythology. There's a lot there that could end up being good, but still not the one that I think is going to be the best. I also don't think New Mutants is going to be the best. Again, I think it has potential. Could be really bad, could be really good. We'll have to wait and see. I'm going to shock the world right now, Rob. Venom 2 is going to be the best comic book movie.
Come on, dude.
I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding.
Andy Serkis is the guy.
I believe that Venom 2, now I could totally change my tune once I see a trailer, okay? Understand, we are just looking into our crystal balls right now, looking into the future, so I could totally change my tune once we start seeing these movies. But for right now, I believe once we get to the end of 2020, I'm going to say that the best comic book movie of the year was Venom 2, and I'll tell you why. Number one, more than you, I know, I had a hell of a lot of fun with the first Venom.
Right.
I really did. And I thought the dichotomy of Tom Hardy as both the symbiote and as Eddie, I could have just watched the two of them talking to each other all movie. I just loved it. Number two, I think that was their first, this was the first film that Sony did comic book wise in this comic book universe idea without Marvel in a number of years. So they came in and it was a new idea. They're trying this thing with Venom without Spider-Man. They were really learning their footing. I think that even though that Venom movie ended up being really entertaining, I think they learned a lot of lessons as well. And I think you're going to see a big improvement in Venom 2 over Venom 1. Number three, you mentioned him, Andy Serkis. I really have a lot of belief in Andy Serkis. See, I didn't like his Jungle Book movie, but he did that one with Andrew Garfield that I thought was just breathtakingly good. And even though I didn't really like his Jungle Book movie, the direction of it was wonderful. I thought the direction of it was wonderful. And I just have a lot of faith in him as a filmmaker right now. So there's that. Fourth thing, Tom Hardy was so invested in this thing, he got involved in the story development with it. You know, he's not the screenplay writer, but like that's how invested he is in this. So you take all of that, you've got a movie that could end up in the toilet. I agree. But I think the highest peak potential is the highest for Venom 2, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say Venom 2 is going to be the best comic book movie of 2020. Rob, I'm sure you agree with me. Tell everybody why you agree with me.
I don't agree with you, John.
I'm not surprised.
But I'm going to tell you the one that I'm most excited about. One of the benefits of being here in my Robservatory is there's a lot of just things that are at my fingertips. And one of those things is this lovely Marvel Omnibus.
Woo, look at that.
This is the Jack Kirby version. There's also a Neil Gaiman version of the Eternals. I am, as I say, deliriously excited about the Eternals because even Kevin Feige has spoken that the story is going to take place over thousands of years. You're going to see the development of the Eternals and how it really ties into the cosmic nature of the Marvel Cinematic Universe with the Celestials, and of course there's the Deviants. And if they even capture a hint of the Kirby-esque nature, I mean, look at this. Come on. Look at that. I mean, this is so quintessentially Jack Kirby. And when gods walk the earth, I'm really, really excited to see this film. And as you pointed out, the cast is amazing. And I think we're really going to get I mean, I guess I want to call it a biblical epic. I don't know why.
It's got that feel.
Yeah, I feel like we're going to get something like maybe not Ben-Hur or the Ten Commandments, but I think we're going to get something along those lines, and yet it'll span time, it'll span galaxies. I think it's going to be huge, and obviously they've got a cast. I mean, look at how swole Camille
Nanjiani is looking.
Nanjiani was a monster. I mean,
yeah.
Like somebody said on my Facebook feed, why doesn't Marvel start their gym service where everybody, all the fans can learn how to become a superhero by? I mean, I want to look like that. I know he said that it was a horrible experience doing that, and he needed a lot of help. But man, I'd love to look like that, if only for a couple of months, just so I can prance around naked and look as good as he does.
I remember Chris Pratt. He was telling me, Chris Pratt came in and he was telling me that when they were like shooting Guardians of the Galaxy, because he went through a massive body transformation, right?
Yeah.
He said, I think it was like one of his relatives had sent, it was his birthday, and one of his relatives had sent a birthday cake to set. And Pratt told me, he said, the Disney guys took the cake his family member sent him and threw it out and brought in a vegetable cake. He said it was like all made up of broccoli and carrots and all that kind of stuff. And I had to, so Marvel's going to help you get into that shape. They're going to help you get into that shape.
But I just think that cast is so interesting. And I think that we're going to get something epic that feels different. And it's coming out this year between Black Widow and the Eternals. You know, everyone's like, oh, how, Marvel's not going to obviously match what they matched last year with Captain Marvel and Endgame. But both Black Widow and Eternals are movies I'm very much looking forward to. So I'm excited for Marvel's output in 2020.
Rob, when you start to look at some of the other films that they have lined up, we got that 2020's got lined up.
Yeah.
Give me just quick little thoughts about how these could come in. All right. Morbius.
Well, Jared Leto's a really interesting performer. And I've talked about on this show, one of my favorite science fiction films of the last decade was Mr. Nobody, especially the long version that he was amazing in. And I love the idea. I mean, he's a rock star in real life. So he is the vampire Lestat, which is a movie they never made. I wanted to see that after Interview with a Vampire. And I'm really excited for Morbius.
Okay, Black Widow.
I really am. Very excited. I thought it looked great. It had more of a naturalistic flavor to it. It looked very Bond-esque. I mean, okay, that the scene at the end where they're free falling might be a little wacky, but I'm really excited for Black Widow. It's right up my alley. I like international globe-trotting spy thrillers.
Okay, Birds of Prey.
Dude, I got to tell you, nothing I've seen other than the fact that Ewan McGregor is in it. It looks kind of like a nightmare, but I mean, I love Margot Robbie. I love the actors they have in those roles. I'm hoping I like it, but it seems like it's trying too hard.
I'll tell you what, I think it's safe to say no comic book film of 2020 is better positioned to surprise us
Right.
than Birds of Prey. Because
See,
I'm with
you're thinking optimistically. I like that.
Because expectations are low. All right, Wonder Woman 84.
Dude, they had me at that version of New Order's Blue Monday. I mean, it was so epic and so cool, and I'm like, they're thinking about it, and who knows how Steve Trevor came back. I don't think Steve Trevor is going to last the entire film. I think he's some kind of a godly construct of some kind, which I like. I don't know really. We haven't seen Cheetah go full Cheetah, but I'm intrigued enough that it looks. Look, I grew up in that period of time. It was the best period of pop culture history, I think, in the last 100 years. I think that I love Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. There's nothing about it that I'm not excited about.
Okay. Just quickly, Bloodshot.
Iffy, I love me some Vin Diesel. I love the Riddick movies. I just don't know.
I gotta say, right now, the only reason I'm interested at all is because of Vin Diesel. I mean, honestly, it just
looks so derivative.
Okay, we already got your thoughts on Eternals. Venom.
Well, look, with Andy Serkis directing, they're bringing in Carnage. By the way, I've got a pretty great Carnage figure right up there, but I'm not going to reach for it. I gotta say, I'm more excited to see Venom 2 with the talent in front of and behind the camera than I was to see the first one.
All right.
And it's going to be the Dark Knight of the Venom movies, I think.
And just a quick one, just quick shot, New Mutants.
Deliriously excited. Fingers crossed. I want it to be great. Just to see something coming from the Fox merger that didn't get lost, that is truly outstanding.
All right, guys. Question. We probably missed one or two, but whatever. All right, guys. Question is, what do you think is going to be? Now, we're not going to hold you to it. But do you've got a prediction right now without having seen really anything from most of these films? Do you have a prediction? What do you think is going to be the best comic book movie of 2020? Jump on down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys, with all that down and out of the way, we're going to move on and take your guys' live questions. Once again, if you want to get your live question on the show, your question or comment, go ahead and use that tip link in the top of the video description, or go ahead and use the YouTube super chat function, and we'll get to those just in a bit. But before we do, we are, of course, going to take just a short little break here, 4 minutes. We're going to rest up the vocal cords. We're going to stretch our legs. We're going to refill our drinks. So if you'll hang tight with us, guys, we will be right back. Don't go anywhere. right, guys, and we are back. Thank you so much for your indulgence as we took a couple of minutes there to go and top off the drinks and use the bathroom a little bit. I'm very grateful for that. All right, let's now dive into your live questions, and we're going to get things started off here with Rich from Queens, who writes, who sends in a really generous tip. Thank you so much for that, Rich, and supporting the channel on that level. Follow-up question, was wondering if you heard that whisper in Endgame. John, it's going to blow your mind when Captain Marvel meets Thor. I 100% hear a whisper that says, I have telepathy. My wife heard it too and was shocked. Could it be an X-Men Easter egg? All right, so for those of you who don't know what's been going on, there has been this thing that in that scene in Endgame where Thor and Captain Marvel are in the Avengers headquarters and Thor gets his hammer and says, I like this one. Somebody says as the hammer flies in that they could hear the words, I have telepathy. I have never noticed it, and I haven't had a chance to go in and sit down and watch it yet because it's just been too busy. But I've been hearing other people saying that they heard it too. Rob, have you ever heard that?
No, I have not. But, you know, it could definitely be something, a home video mix is different than a theatrical mix. So maybe it was actually there, but when they did the near field sound mix for the movie to play for streaming or on physical media, they actually bolstered that so it could be heard. But it seems to me it's such an obscure thing. Why wouldn't they want you to hear it? Why wouldn't it be obviously out there? I don't think they're trying to hide things. If she has telepathy or there's telepathy going on, wouldn't they want you to know it?
I certainly don't think it's an X-Men tease. Because why?
No.
Why? So like Professor X is creeping around outside the Avengers mansion, just goes, I have telepathy. Look,
Can you imagine if there's a cutaway, like there's a deleted scene where that's actually happening?
James McAvoy in the Professor X wheelchair. I have telepathy, and now I'm going to sneak off to another house and do that. No, I don't think. Listen, Kevin Feige was pretty explicit that there wasn't going to be anything X-Men related or Fantastic Four related or anything like that in Endgame, despite all the fake news stories you heard surrounding that. Like,
yeah,
oh my God, all the stories that came out from, like, what's the one that's become like one of the worst? We got this covered has become one of the worst of like putting out these fake stories like daily, and there were tons of them coming out of there about all the X-Men involvement, blah, blah, blah. No, but it never did. So again, I can't say that that's not there, that I have telepathy. As I can't say it's not there because I haven't tuned in and watched myself. It'll be interesting if it is. But if it is there, I have a feeling it's not an Easter egg for anything. Do you remember the thing in the original animated thing of Lion King? The original animated Lion King, there's a scene where Simba's looking up to the stars and it's night, and he flops himself down on the ground, and all the dust kicks up into the night sky. And for a couple of frames, the dust that kicks up forms the word sex. And if you're not looking for it, you wouldn't see it. Once you look for it, you can't unsee it. But, you know, that kind of came out. It was just something the animators did for fun to slip in there that nobody would really notice.
It's the circle of life, John.
It's the circle of life. I wouldn't doubt at all if somebody wanted to just throw it in a little something, but I don't think it was any sort of foreshadowing of X-Men or anything like that. All right, next up, Trafalgar Law writes, there is an only one Dolby Cinema in Tokyo at the moment. Assuming that movie starts at, I think it's 7 o'clock, the venues show only a few trailers before 7 and only play Dolby Cinema ads 3 minutes right before the movie starts. Hope to see if you're actually coming here. Oh, I would. The reason Trafalgar is saying I hope to see that you're coming here is because Ann and I were considering, Ann and I are considering going over to Tokyo. Why am I having a problem with this? Here we go. Wait a second. What's going on? Yeah. Ann and I are considering going to Tokyo to see Cody Miller swim in the Olympics. So we're thinking about going over to support Cody. And I've never been to Japan and going to check that out.
Dude, I want to go. There's a die-cast Gundam that's coming out that's $900 that I really need to have.
Of course there is. That aside.
I want to go to Tokyo.
That's how it should be done. You want to show commercials? Show them before the showtime.
Right.
So as we come into the theater, 10, 15 minutes early to get our seats and settle in, you want to show trailers, that's fine. You want to show trailers, commercials, whatever. You even want to show 1 or 2 trailers before the movie starts, that's fine too. It's just that this whole thing, so it sounds like Tokyo does it right. Because this whole thing of, hey, movie starts at 7, and the movie doesn't really start till 7:30 because you're going to show us a half-hour ads and trailers and all that kind of stuff. It sounds like Tokyo is doing it right, Rob. So that sounds pretty good. I like that.
I'm in. I've always wanted to go to Japan. I'd love to go see Toho Studios. I'd love to see Mount Fuji. I'd love to go to Hokkaido Island, where they, of course, built the second machine from Contact, and go to their snow.
That's right.
They why build one when you can have two at twice the price? And they've got a great snow festival. I've wanted to go to Japan my whole life, man, and to go see Cody Miller. When do I have to save my money? When is that?
Cody's got to win the Olympic trials first. So but he's building momentum. All right, next up here, Michael Sotelo writes: as a film fan, my goal this year was to see 50 movies in theaters. Uncut Gems will be 65. Nice. Ooh. Also, I started in 2019 with 0 hot toys. Now I have 6. Happy holidays, everybody. Well, first of all, Michael, I hope you got A-list, because I'm sure A-list probably helped in that regard. So what I would say is, it is a slippery slope. Once you start getting hot toys, like some people ask me, John, why do you only have 4 hot toys? And I say, because I don't want to have 40. And the moment I buy, because I had none, then I got 1, and then I blinked and I had 4. And I'm like, this is like crack to me. I got to stop, because once I start getting them, it's like, oh, look at, I had no pops. And then Ray bought me 2 Supernatural pops, and then before I knew it, I had 200. So it's like I just can't do it. I can't do it.
I want to know what 6 hot toys he has, though.
That would be interesting to know.
I have to know, John. I got to know.
All
I only have 1 pop. I only have 1, and it's Mads Mikkelsen as Hannibal Lecter.
Really? You only have 1? Although I'll tell you what, I was at GameStop yesterday. And they had a pop I had not seen. It's Hodor from Game of Thrones. Oh. But it's one of their larger ones, because they have their regular size ones, then they have their larger ones.
Yeah.
It's one of the larger ones, and it's Hodor leaning, pushing all of his back weight against a door with all these hands coming out from around the door. And it's called Hodor Hold the Door. I don't know why I walked out of there without it. I'm going to have to go back and pick it up, because I got to have... That was a good one. I got to get that pop. All right. Next one up. Willow writes: happy holidays. If it makes you feel better, the average price for a detached house is currently about $1 million here in Vancouver. Yeah, but at least that's in Canadian dollars. Unless I win the lottery, I'm also going to be renting forever. Yeah, I've been talking to Rob a bit about how it's become incredibly frustrating. How it's nearly impossible to buy a house in Los Angeles. It's almost impossible. But so at least right now there's about a 1/3, so that would be about 700,000 in American dollars in Vancouver. But yeah, Vancouver's become a very expensive place to live because so many people are moving there. Look, LA is not the only expensive place to live in the world, but it's just that there's so many other places in the US and Canada. They're so much cheaper to live.
The only thing we've got going for us is that the population is decreasing in California. So hopefully real estate prices might go down a little bit.
Here's a hope. Okay. Next up here, Kevin McAllister writes, me and my friend saw Star Wars Saturday night, and right after went home and watched Michael Scott's Threat Level Midnight. That's awesome. I know with one I like better. Wow, what a mess. Rise of Skywalker was the best part. Was Ed Sheeran and Harry Styles as stormtroopers? Oh yeah, that's it. That they were the 2 guys that went Knights of Ren. Cool. I think that was them, was it not?
Yeah, I think
I could be wrong about that. But oh my God, so Ray, my brother-in-law Ray, and our buddy Ryan were over here yesterday, and we were hanging out in the afternoon. We had a little bit of time to kill before something we had to do, and they just popped on Netflix and put on The Office, and they just happened to put on the Prison Mike episode. Oh my God. Prison. If you guys have not seen, there's a couple of must-see. There's probably about 10 must-see Office episodes. One of the top ones is Scott's Tots, but you've got to see Prison Mike. You've got to see. Yeah, the toughest part about prison is at night when the Dementors would come out. Are you just referencing Harry Potter? No. Oh my God. The Prison Mike episode is so freaking good, guys. You got to check it out. Okay. Let's see here. Alex Pitt writes, I have seen almost 200 films in 2019. Nice. And my top 10 are Number 1, Avengers Endgame. Number 2, Booksmart. Number 3, Joker. Number 4, Marriage Story. Number 5, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Number 6, Knives Out. Number 7, The Farewell. Number 8, The Irishman. Number 9, Ford v Ferrari. And yesterday made your top 10. Nice. That's a nice diverse list, Alex. I like that list a lot. That's a nice mixture of lists in there. Avengers Endgame is not even my favorite comic book movie of the year. Joker is my favorite comic book movie of the year. So there's that. But I mean, that's a nice mix of questions or of movies there, Alex. Well done. Well done. All right. Alex then writes, my worst 10 films of 2019 are number 10, The Silence. Number 9, Under the Silver Lake. Number 8, The Red Sea Diving Resort. That's the one with Captain America in there with Chris Evans. Number 7, Murder Mystery. Number 6, The Hustle. Oh, that's different from Hustlers.
Right.
Number 5, High Flying Bird. Number 4, Rim of the World. Number 3, Hellboy. Number 2, Malibu Rescue. Number 1, Sextuplet. I'm not familiar with sextuplets.
Yeah, I think it's some body comedy, but I'm not sure.
I mean, it sounds like a body comedy. That's for sure.
I really liked High Flying Bird. That's Soderbergh's movie, another movie he shot with iPhones. I really enjoyed that, though.
I didn't mind Under the Silver Lake. Now, I'm not saying it was a good movie. I'm not saying it was good. I'm just saying I didn't mind it so much. But that's interesting licks there, Alex. All right, Alex also writes, top 10 Netflix originals in 2019. Number 10, Rolling Thunder Review. Number 9, See You Yesterday. Number 8, I Am Mother. I actually, I went back and watched that one again. And I appreciated it.
It's pretty good. I liked it.
I liked it even more the second time. Like, it is true sci-fi in its DNA. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because I watched the first time, I thought, this doesn't look all that good, but I'll watch it. And I was like, wow, that was pretty good. And then I watched it a second time, and I'm like, no, that's not just pretty good. That's really good. Anyway.
Yeah.
Number 7, The Perfection. Number 6, Klaus. Number 5, Fire. Yeah, that one. Woo. And there were 2 of them. Number 4, El Camino. I didn't like El Camino all that much. Number 3, I Lost My Body. Number 2, The Irishman. And number 1, Marriage Story. Have a great Christmas, everyone. And Rob, that's actually becoming one of the question marks. This is the thing that's got a lot of people wondering, is the fact that a lot of people are talking about maybe Irishman, a Best Picture of the Year contender. But then I'm hearing a lot of people saying it's not even the best Netflix original movie of the year. Marriage Story is, which I got to say, I personally disagree. I liked Marriage Story very, very much. I actually thought Irishman, despite the fact that it needed to cut about 30 to 40 minutes of the movie out, I thought Irishman was even better. I thought Irishman was the best one. But there is this debate going on right now about, forget Best Picture contender, which one was even the better original Netflix movie? Have you had a chance to watch Marriage Story yet?
I have not. Oh,
but you've got to.
I loved Irishman, and I've the animated film. What's it called? I Found My Body.
Yeah, and Klaus.
Klaus is great, but I really want to see I Found My Body. I think is that what it's called?
But watch Marriage Story.
I'm going to.
Because that movie is getting like minimum 5 Academy Award nominations. Minimum. Yeah. Best Supporting Actress, Best Actress, Best Actor, Screenplay, probably Director, probably Best Picture. Actually, could get 7 or 8 nominations when it's all said and done. I'm going to go at least minimum 5. Marriage Story is going to get minimum 5 nominations, and it could be more, so check that out. All right, Canada Rocks writes, The Witcher stories consist of 13 short stories and 5 novels. The video games are sequels to those stories and not direct adaptations, which is what we've talked about, right? That The Witcher is really more based on the written material, not on the video games per se. Season 1 of the show is a pretty faithful adaptation of the short stories, just told in a different order. The show also adds the Yennefer backstory, which is fabulous. That was only hinted at in the books. It appears the second season will be based on the first novel, and I, for one, cannot wait. Yes, it's flawed, but I love the first season. Listen, I can't agree more. I love The Witcher. Yes, it has a couple of problems, it has a couple of issues, but to me, and I used this phrase when I talked about it before, I'll say it again, high-level storytelling. Like really high level story. I've seen nonlinear storytelling before. I've never seen it used quite like this and done this way, this effectively.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, the last 4 episodes, I'm like, oh my God. And then again, in the next episode, oh my God. Like I was so impressed with their way of doing that. You still haven't finished it yet though, have you, Rob?
No, but you know what? Elizabeth was watching episode 1 last night and she was a little iffy on it. But I told her, I said, you got to wait. You got to give it like three episodes. It was like with The Expanse. When I first watched The Expanse, I was like, we got to give it 3 or 4 episodes. And it's one of those shows that by episode 4, or I'm sure that The Witcher, you're either locked in or you're not. But I can't wait to watch the rest of it. It's not like I'm not going to watch it.
Oh, well, I mean, look, and I'll say this: episode 1 is clear. I like episode 1. It is clearly the worst episode. Episode 1's the worst episode, but you will look back on episode 1 later and have a new appreciation for it. That's all I'm going to say. All right. Next up, Canada Rocks. Daniel, who sends in a $50 tip. Thank you so much, Daniel. I gather up the $50 ones and I make their own standalone video. So I'm going to make it your own standalone 3 to 5 minute video, but let's address it just here quickly. And thank you for supporting the channel on that level, Daniel. Hey, John, love the show. Thank you so much. With Avengers Endgame concluding the Infinity Saga, I went back and watched all 4 Avengers films, and it got me thinking, which leads to my question. Who do you think handled the Avengers better? Joss Whedon or the Russo brothers?
Ooh.
Well, it's a good question, but it's a very, very difficult question because you have to take something in consideration. It's not like Joss Whedon did his Avengers, and then 10 years passed, and Marvel rebooted, and then they did their version of the Avengers, and you got the Russo brothers. That would kind of be a clean slate comparing who handled which ones, right? The Russo brothers were able to step in, and I love the Russo brothers.
Right.
They stepped in, and their Avengers stuff was built upon all the stuff that Joss Whedon did. There are no Russo brother Avengers films if it wasn't for what Joss Whedon did.
Sure.
So Joss Whedon came in, and I remember you and I talked about this with Cody on Best Movie, Worst Movie. And one of the things I said at the time was the Marvel Cinematic Universe really got its true identity in that Avengers movie. That Avengers movie was the movie that said, like, you had a very good Iron Man movie, and I think an underrated Captain America, the first Avenger movie, and you had these good movies. But to me, it was the first Avengers movie that set the DNA of this is what this universe really is. And Joss Whedon is the one who set those foundations, created these characters the way we understood them, interacting and all that kind of stuff. He created the template for the dynamics and all that, and he did all of that work. And then the Russo brothers came in and brilliantly stood on his shoulders and continued it. But their stuff is all based on his stuff. So it's really difficult to say. Look, if I had to give a simple answer, I still think the best comic book movie ever made is the first Avengers movie. To me, that's just the de facto definitive. This is what a comic book movie is, you know?
Also, who would have thought it would work as well as it did? I mean, John, I agree with you. I sat in that theater even though I like Captain America and Thor and everybody, and certainly the Iron Man films, I was dubious. You know, I kind of sat there with my hands crossed like, there's no way it could work. And halfway through that film, I was just sitting there with my jaw open going, my God, I never thought I would live in a world where I would see not only an Avengers movie, but an Avengers movie that was working so beautifully well with the character interplay. And it was so wildly entertaining. I mean, Hulk rampaging through a SHIELD helicarrier at one point. And then, of course, we get to the Battle of New York. And I was giddy. And I completely agree with you. I think the Russo brothers did a fine job building on everything. But if you didn't have Joss Whedon laying that groundwork, and I'll tell you something else, Age of Ultron gets better every single time I watch it.
I agree. Yeah, I every time I watch that movie, I appreciate it more and more. I really do.
Especially after what came after. I mean, seeing it really, the team dynamics and everything that went on, and even adding Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch and Andy Serkis. There was just so much there. And people don't give that movie enough credit, and I think it's because they didn't have the wondrous experience of seeing that first Avengers movie because they already expected it. But man, that movie does a lot of great things right.
But again, that is not taking anything away from Joe and Anthony. I mean, they're great. Right. Their first production after their Marvel stuff, not so good with 27 Bridges. Is that the number? Is that the right number? Not so good, but I think they are marvelous and fantastic. And what they did, there's no denying what they did with those movies. I just think it's it's all building on the foundation that Joss Whedon laid, though. So anyway, it's a good discussion to have. And again, Daniel, I'll address this as well in his own video a little bit later in the holiday season here. The Nerd Errant writes, sources I looked up showed these domestic openings for Star Wars: Episode 4, 1.9 million, Episode 5, 4.9 million, Episode 6, 23 million. There was also a rollout question there. This means the sequel trilogy doing less each, while not flops, is a step down, not following a pattern. And then you have to look at the worldwide box office as well as all that kind of stuff. This goes, of course, to the debate, Rob, of, how do we look at the $176 million, one of the biggest opening weekends in cinematic history of a movie I don't like, but $176 million opening weekend, one of the biggest openings in the history of cinema. When you consider the tens of thousands of films that have come out, there are still people that try to look at it in a negative way. That's bad. And look, you cannot throw out the fact that it's one of the biggest openings in cinematic history does not mean you throw out the fact that in this new trilogy, it is, as a matter of fact, the lowest opening for this trilogy. But spectacular is spectacular. Right. I mean, spectacular. I kind of put it like this, Rob. I'm not a huge steak guy.
Really? You're from Canada.
I know. You think with all that good Alberta beef. But I'm not a huge steak guy, but I appreciate a good steak.
Yeah.
Best steak I've ever had in my life was at Gordon Ramsay's, oddly enough, the name of his restaurant is Steak. Gordon Ramsay's Steak in the Paris Hotel in Las Vegas. That is the best steak I've ever had. Sometime after that, I had another steak at another steak restaurant in the Paris Hotel in Las Vegas. I think it's called Mon Ami Gabi. I can't remember, but I think that's the name of the restaurant. I might be forgetting it, but it's a French restaurant that's also a steakhouse. Second best steak I have ever had in my life. Then sometime after that, not too long ago, Ann and I went for dinner to, where was it that we went? Oh, no. I was in Kansas. Sorry. I was in Kansas. This is back when I was still with AMC. I was in Kansas, and AMC took me to the steak, because Kansas is known for its steak and barbecue, man. So they took me to this steakhouse, this really fancy steakhouse, and it was the third best steak I've ever had in my life. John, what's the point of this? This is what the point of this is.
You're making me hungry.
Yeah, it's true. My mouth's watering. Think about it. Here's the thing. That steak I had in that Kansas steakhouse was just the third best I had ever had. But it was, despite being not as good as the Gordon Ramsay one, not as good as the Mon Ami Gabi one, it was a spectacular, unbelievable, mouth-watering, delicious, wonderful experience. Yeah, but John, it wasn't as good as the last two you had, so that means it's not good. No, that's a bullshit way of looking at it. It was still a marvelous, fantastic, mouth-watering, fabulous experience eating a steak. And to me, that's what this whole Star Wars thing is. This third Star Wars movie in this franchise, which is one of the worst Star Wars movies I've seen in a while, it made $176 million on its opening weekend. That is spectacular. Oh, but it didn't do as much as the Gordon Ramsay The Force Awakens or as the Mon Ami Gabi Last Jedi. Okay, maybe that's true, but that does not change that it's still a $176 million opening that few films in history could ever come close to matching. It is still a spectacular outcome for them. We'll see what the drop-off is. We'll see what they're moving forward, but that's how I kind of see it, Rob. This movie was the Kansas City Steakhouse of opening weekend box offices to me. And I still can't believe there are some people that try to paint it in a negative light, that try to figure out some way to pretend like this is a negative outcome. Is it as good as the other two? No, it's not. But it's still a spectacular. I don't know, Rob.
I can't help it. Now I'm thinking about my girlfriends in the past.
Oh, like
when I was in college, they were all pretty spectacular.
Yeah, this one girl I dated, yeah, she wasn't as good as the previous two, but she was still fabulous. All right, let's move on here.
We should.
Ryan Lohner writes in, I got 20 minutes into The Godfather, but life is too short, so I skipped ahead. Oh, I see where you're going with this. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Okay. But life's too short, so I skipped ahead. Sony was gone for no reason. I couldn't figure out anything people were talking about. Nakedly terrible. Now, of course, before anybody gets too mad at Ryan, what Ryan is clearly doing is he is spoofing on the fact of that Entertainment Weekly writer who put out this horrible review of The Witcher, which is fine. If he didn't like The Witcher, that's cool. Nothing wrong with that. Except he, writing for one of the most prominent trades in the entertainment industry, decided to write his review having only watched 3 episodes. He watched 1 and 2, and then I just skipped ahead to 5, and then I didn't watch any of the ones after that. I'm like, you watched less than half the show. You are a critic and a reviewer for Entertainment Weekly. You can't do that anyway.
No,
so that's what. No, I still get mad about it, Rob, because again, we talked about this on the show yesterday, but one of the things that's really infuriating about that whole thing is the fact that it makes everybody in the industry looks bad. It makes everybody in the industry look bad. And look, I can tell you, just because that one guy did that, and for all I know, the dude is a great dude. I'm not speaking ill of the guy. He could be a fabulous, fabulous guy. I'm just saying this one isolated incident is a horrendous embarrassment. And he's just made with that one incident, and maybe he's a credit to the industry and every other aspect of his life, but this one thing has cast a negative light and makes people think that all critics do. They don't. I can tell you right now, I know a hell of a lot of critics. All right, I know a lot of them. They don't do that.
No.
But now the narrative out there, Rob, I'm seeing on Twitter is, well, yeah, see, that's what critics do. They don't even watch the things in the blah. It's like it was one guy, but now everybody thinks that's how everybody is, and that's his fault. And it's just infuriating. Okay, sorry. Let's go on here. Lewis writes, but John, Uncut Gems is only a Netflix release internationally. Here in the States, it's an A24 in-theater release on December 25th. It had a limited release on the 13th. I've had some people tell me that, Rob, and I did not know that. So
Yeah,
it's not going to be on Netflix till like March in North America?
I think that's true. I think that's true. And you know that it's Little Women, Greta Gerwig's new film, and Uncut Gems are both opening this week. Both films I'm dying to see. So it's an embarrassment of riches for the movie theaters, and I think that's great. You know, that happened with Shaft over the summer. The new Shaft was released theatrically here, but it went Netflix overseas, and then went on Netflix later. Yeah, so it's interesting to see how that's getting all mixed in. So that's good to know. All right. An anonymous viewer writes in, toss your coin to a Witcher, oh Valley of Penis. The best line from episode 5 of The Witcher. Some surprising lines in the show. Loving it so far. It is surprising, and maybe it shouldn't be so surprising, Rob, how many people I have like as comments on tweets or things I put up already. Throw a coin to your Witcher, oh Valley of Plenty. Actually, I don't even know if you're that far into the show yet or not, that you've heard the song. No, you're not that far yet? Okay, well, that song's coming, and then it'll make sense to you. That was a funny moment, though. Roman Bryant writes, top 10 comic book films. Number 10, Iron Man. Iron Man 3? Really? Well, hey, all film is subjective. Good on you. Number 9, Avengers 1. Number 8, Ant-Man. Number 7, Batman Returns. Number 6, Batman 89. Number 5, Shazam. Number 4, The Winter Soldier. Number 3, Guardians 1. Number 2, Spider-Man 2, the 2002. And number 1, Spider-Man 2. Listen, I'll tell you what, Roman, there was a good period of time that I also felt that Spider-Man 2, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man 2, was the best comic book movie maybe ever made. And that changed, but there was a period of time that is still, Rob, to me, an incredibly high standard movie. I love that movie. It's easily my favorite Spider-Man movie ever made. Although Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse gives it a run for its money to me. Actually, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse might be my favorite Spider-Man movie ever made. But Spider-Man 2 is a high standard. When you look back and think about Spider-Man 2, what do you think? You know, I loved Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 1 to me, Raimi's Spider-Man 1 was half of a great movie. Like, I loved him becoming Spider-Man, but then it seemed a little wacky with Willem Dafoe. But I have to say, Spider-Man 2, I love the relationship he had with Octavius, and I love where it all went. And the train sequence is one of the most show-stopping superheroic sequences in cinema history. It's just amazing.
Yeah, it was wonderful. All right, next up here, Nerd Errant writes, Merry Christmas to all, and do I sound like I'm ordering a guy? Oh, so I don't know why you said Merry Christmas and then put in a Die Hard reference, because Die Hard, as we all know, is not a Christmas movie. I mean, we all know that though, right? Right, Rob? Like, we all know that.
Would you like me to get my model Nakatomi building that has the Die Hard Blu-rays in it? Because I can.
Is that the packaging for your Die Hard Blu-rays?
Yes. They put out a Nakatomi Plaza.
Okay.
And it's pretty great.
I'm going to read the next question. You go get that thing.
It's actually inside. I'd have to go.
Oh, don't worry about it then.
But I'm going to have it on my, I could show you. Look at this. Here is the greatest packaging of 2019. It is the Game of Thrones full series packaging. I mean, this is the crazy. You can't really see, but it's got this 3-dimensional artwork in it. If you pop it open, the artwork changes, and you pull this stuff out.
Oh my God!
And then the discs are in the. It's the most unbelievable thing ever. Why we're showing this on the show? If you need a late Christmas present, this is the most amazing video packaging I've seen since the Alien head that Fox put out like 10 years ago.
I'm also a big fan of the packaging they did for the Battlestar Galactica complete series. It's like a giant Cylon head, and
it comes with a Cylon. You slide it out.
Yep.
I have that. I'm going to put all my favorite packaging. I'll bring it all, so I have it all. In my, I can grasp it and just randomly throw it on the show.
All right, let's see. Next up here, James Germain writes, Hey, John, sorry about yesterday's question. Didn't know I was spoiling anything. Again, guys, I know nobody intends to spoil things for people. I never once thought for a second you were being malicious. Not at all. Just, I always encourage everybody, please be very careful. Reread what you're writing before you hit submit, just to make sure we're not spoiling things for other people who haven't watched something yet. Anyway, and also on a side note, as much as you say, to be fair, it starts to sound more and more like an audition for Letterkenny. And did anybody else realize Schnepp predicted Baby Yoda? You know what? I don't know if you saw this, Rob. Somebody sent to me the other day an old video clip of, I think it was an AMC mailbag that I was doing. It was me and Schnepp and a third person. I can't remember. And we were talking about something Star Warsy, and Schnepp started doing, and yeah, they'll do Baby Yoda, ooh, Baby Yoda, whatever. And just like, so he didn't exactly predict that they were going to do, but it was funny. So somebody sent me that clip, and that started going around, which was really, really fun. And guys, if you haven't watched Letterkenny, get on it. I just turned on Erin and her husband Tom onto it. Apparently now Tom is obsessed with the show.
Dude, when you showed that to me, I couldn't even believe it existed.
Couldn't even believe it existed. It's true.
That was hilarious.
An anonymous writer writes, yesterday was my first super chat. Found you by that AMC Marvel movie announcement video with Schnepp, Harloff, and Ellis. I was never a movie news fan follower, but you changed that, and I've been following since. Just want to wish you, Rob, Aaron, Chris, a Merry Christmas. Well, thank you so much, Anonymous, very much. And it is crazy. I can't believe it's Christmas Eve today. I can't believe it's Christmas Eve. Like, the season is just like literally snuck up on me. Just completely snuck up.
Christmas Eve, John, that's when John McClane goes to Nakatomi Plaza on Christmas Eve.
You had to bring that up.
The first line of the trailer for Die Hard is, "It's Christmas Eve in L.A."
It's true. It is Christmas Eve in LA when it happens. Still doesn't make it a Christmas movie. We're going to be having this debate for the next 5 years. I can absolutely guarantee. Anyway, anonymous viewer, thank you so much, and all of our best to you as well. So we appreciate that, dude. All right, next up, John Argote Rodriguez writes, I also believe that the night Bruce Wayne saw his parents killed, Bruce died with them, and that night marked the birth of the Batman. So technically, that means that Batman was in the Joaquin Phoenix Joker. Boom. Yeah, so what he's referring to is that I have always believed that to truly understand Batman, you've got to understand that Bruce Wayne is the mask. Bruce Wayne's not the real person. Batman's the real person, and Bruce Wayne's the mask. And following that means to me, Bruce Wayne died in that alley with his parents as a child. And that night, the Batman was born. And so what he's saying is because we get a new version of the death of the Waynes in the alley. So that technically means that we saw the birth of Batman in that movie. So technically, Rob, we got Batman in the movie. But you could say that anyway, just for the fact that we saw young Bruce Wayne, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if I buy that entirely because, Bruce Wayne, Batman had to be forged. The seed was planted that night, but Batman he had to let his rage consume him for a while, so. But again,
that was baby. That was I believe in that alley, that's baby Batman now. And you're right, as he then had to gestate, mature, he had to go through the forging and all that kind of stuff to become what he was. But I think that was the beginning point right there. That was his transformation.
Someone's going to do artwork of you and I as baby Bruce and baby Yoda. That's coming now.
Baby Bruce and baby Yoda.
Hanging out, right? Fighting throughout the galaxy, righting wrongs.
Is that going to be replacing baby Groot versus baby Yoda?
Could be.
Kendall Snipes writes, "Hey, John, I love the show. Thank you so much. And never miss an episode." Thank you so much, Kendall. If I remember correctly, didn't you say that you used to go to college in Simpsonville, South Carolina? Thought this was cool since I live right down the road from there. Thanks for all the great content. Kendall, not to make things awkward, but you're thinking of your other girlfriend because no, I don't think I've ever even been to South Carolina. So no, that wasn't me that said I went to college in South Carolina.
South Carolina, by the way, is awesome, dude.
Oh, hey, one of my best friends in LA is from South Carolina. Raves about it all the time. I'd love to visit it sometime. Was it you? Like maybe it was you, Rob, or maybe it was Aaron who said something about it, or
although
Aaron
went to college in Texas.
Myrtle
Beach.
Oh, there you go. But no, unfortunately, Kendall, it was not me. But hey, you know what? Thank you for watching the show anyway. And I hope you're able to remember whoever it was that went to college there. All right. Next up, Christopher Benson writes, after rewatching Clerks 2, oh God, I love that movie. I now wish I could sit in an office at movies and paint Rosario Dawson's toenails all day. The donkey show is optional. Listen, I'll tell you what. And I believe this wholeheartedly. You could make a top 100 list of like the ultimate for geek guys and nerdy guys, whatever, like the ultimate dream girl. In the top 3, maybe even number 1, Rosario Dawson in Clerks 2. I believe that character, and I can't remember the character's name in it, but I believe that character is like the ultimate dream girl. I mean, slick, smart, funny, beautiful, the whole bit, all the stuff that she is just the ultimate dream girl. And that I love that movie. Clerks 2 to me is it holds a very, very special place in my heart because that movie came into my life at a very applicable moment. That really stands out to me. But yeah, Rosario Dawson in that movie, man. Anyway, Rob, your thoughts on Clerks 2?
I liked Clerks 2, actually. I mean, I'm a fan of Kevin Smith's and, yes, Rosario. I've actually met Rosario Dawson, and she is, in real life, she's a dreamy geek girl. I mean, she's not just playing one in the movies. She is that way. She's a staple of Comic-Con, and she's a delightful individual.
And a mom, by the way, now too. She's a mom now. All right, Superman Steve writes, John, I wanted to say to you and Rob, Chris, Aaron, fact checker Jonathan, a really safe and Merry Christmas. Thank you for such an incredible year. We, your fans, can't thank you enough. Oh, thank you so much for that, Superman Steve. And it's been a wild year, man. It's been a wild year, both in the film community and here for us on the show. We hit some new milestones. We crossed 100 million views of the channel. We crossed 200,000 subscribers. Again, minute by many YouTube channels standards, but for us, it's a pretty big deal. And it's just been a wonderful, wonderful time. And thank you to you, Superman Steve, and to everybody who's been along on this journey with us this year for this. It's been a great one, and we're looking forward to an even better 2020. By the way, I should mention, for any of you who might be Patreon supporters, you guys can jump on the Discord chat after we're done with this broadcast. And we're going to do a little post John Campea Show chat. And I've got a couple things that I'm going to let you guys know about things I'm doing in 2020 that we're not going to let everybody else know about quite yet. But for those of you who are Patreon supporters and part of the Discord chat, jump on over there about 10 or 15 minutes after we're done the live show. I just got to edit out the segments real quick when we're done, and then I'm going to jump over to the Discord server. Make sure you guys join me over there. All right. Thanks a lot for that, Superman Steve. We appreciate it. All right. James Lockman writes, I tell you what, John, those Knights of Ren guys are pretty filthy, tracking all that clumps of dirt into the nice shiny floors of the First Order battleship and then destroying the atmosphere with their heavy pollution-causing spaceship. Sure, I mean, we saw the Knights of Ren. We did see the Knights of Ren in the trailers, Rob, stomping around a little bit. What you see, I mean, there was no spoilers were given there, but in a ship they fly around, they need to get their exhaust fixed.
They're a little too steampunk there, for real. I mean,
little steampunk.
They took steampunk too literally, I think.
Yeah, not a lot of environmental consciousness amongst the Knights of Ren. Got to tell you right there, not a lot of environmental consciousness. All right, Mountain Gherkin writes, in your opinion, which is better, the third Star Wars trilogy or the current Star Trek trilogy? Except for The Force Awakens, I say Star Trek. I agree under the specific circumstances that you just laid it out. If you take out The Force Awakens, yes, I say the new Star Trek trilogy. Because I like the new Star Trek trilogy. I like it very much. With The Force Awakens included, definitely the Star Wars ones, because I like The Last Jedi. I love The Force Awakens. I'm not a big fan of The Rise of Skywalker. But I think overall, the Star Wars ones, but if you take out The Force Awakens, I go Star Trek. Rob? I know you are not the biggest fan in the world of either of these trilogies, not the biggest. So if you had to pick one, which one's better, the current Star Trek trilogy or the current Star Wars trilogy?
You know what, John? It's such a difficult choice for me, but I'm going to have to, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but Star Wars. I don't think I've hated a movie more than Into Darkness, maybe ever. Maybe ever. I mean, in terms of bastardizing and dumbing down something I've loved my whole life. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Jabin Carter writes, pick one, lose one. Spaceballs 2, The Search for More Money, written and directed by Lord Miller, or a standalone Star Wars movie written and directed by Joss Whedon. By the way, John, I hate your whimper. A little bit of Dark Crystal there. That's easy to me. That's easy. A new standalone Star Wars movie written and directed by Joss Whedon. That's easy. I like Lord Miller very much. Very much. But I don't want, if it's not Mel Brooks doing it, I don't want a Spaceballs 2. Like, if you're going to, it's got to be Mel Brooks. I'm not saying I would reject a Spaceballs 2 done by Lord Miller, but when I think Spaceballs 2, I think if done by Mel Brooks. So that to me is easy. I take the Joss Whedon written and directed Star Wars movie. What about you, Rob?
I got to take, I'm thinking about what Joss Whedon would have done with a character like Rey. Now, of course, J.J. Abrams created Felicity, but I keep going back to Buffy the Vampire Slayer and how Joss Whedon was able to combine balls to the wall fantasy and horror with very human pathos, especially when it came to the female characters like Buffy Summers on that show. And wow, what he could have done with Rey could have been really special.
Or with Summer, or not Summer,
Willow?
The main warrior chick in Firefly. Why? No,
well, Summer Glau. Yeah, Summer Glau played her.
Is River? Is that the character's name?
Yes.
River. Okay.
River Tam.
Yeah, look what he did with River and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, I love the female characters in Firefly so much. I can't remember.
Marina Baccarin, man. Can't go wrong there.
Marina Baccarin. But the girl who played the engineer, the sweet kind of Southern style girl, right? One of my favorite moments in Serenity or Firefly was when all the crew were talking and saw, they were talking about maybe somebody having a romance. And the girl who's the engineer said, I ain't had no relationship with anything that hasn't run on batteries in months. And then the Adam Baldwin character stops for a second. I'll be in my bunk. And then he leaves and goes, I ain't had no relationship with nothing that ain't run on batteries and whatever. It's just, oh, God. I just love the way it's just me. All right. The cinematic experience writes, Just uploaded my first video inspired by your how to start video. Thanks. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much for letting me know that cinematic experience. For those of you who don't know, it's now like 5 years old, but I put up a 2-hour video when I was still at AMC. So it might be over 5 years, but when I was still at AMC, I put up like a 2-hour video on how to get started in podcasting, blogging, and YouTubing. And if you guys just go to YouTube and search John Campea Getting Started, you should find that video. And it's just, I go into depth. I got to update that video. I got to do a new version of it because many years have passed. But I'm so glad you watched that. I'm so glad that you found it helpful. And good luck on you on getting on doing your YouTube channel, man. I think more fans need to get involved. All right, Russell writes, "Hey, John, this is a tough one, but something is telling that Venom will be the big comic book movie of 2020. The inclusion of Carnage and to see more Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock is enough for me. I'm curious to see where the story goes. Happy holidays to you and Ann." All right. Well, thanks a lot for that, Russell. And listen, from your mouth to God's ears, I predict, and I could change my mind. For now, I will boldly predict that Venom will be the best comic book movie of 2020. But just because Carnage is going to be in it doesn't mean anything.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't. And I'll tell you why it doesn't.
Awesome, dude.
Because you know who else is a great, iconic, one of the all-time most magnificent comic book foils ever? Dr. Doom. And they've put him in 3 movies. Nay, now 4. No, 3. 3 movies they've used, if you don't count the Roger Corman one.
That's a good point.
Having a great comic book character in it ain't going to make your movie good or bad. You still got to write it, right? You've got to execute. You've got to write that character well. You got to do great things with that character, and you have to make the character feel integrative to the narrative and have great dynamic with your heroes and blah, blah, blah. Just having the character isn't going to do anything unless you do the character justice. And we've seen Dr. Doom tried and failed numbers of times. Carnage could easily fall through the grates. But I'm predicting it'll be great. So, but I'm just saying, just because Carnage is there doesn't mean it's going to be good. Rob, what would you say to that?
I think, look, with the visual effects technology, I just want to see a battle between the two of them. I love the look of Carnage, the red and the black. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do to make that look on camera, but it's going to be fantastic. And I cannot wait, dude. It'll be, as they said in Stand By Me, it'll be a good fight, though.
It'll be a great fight, and I can't wait to see it. All right, Patrick Conway writes, "Merry Christmas, John, Rob, Chris, and Aaron from Ireland." Thank you so much, Patrick, and Merry Christmas to you, and Happy Holidays to everybody watching the show. Appreciate that, man. Hector Jeter writes, "As the first ranking member of your Discord channel, I would like to speak on behalf of my fellow Discord members that we would like for Nerd Guy to be unbanned. LOL, hashtag justice for Nerd Guy." I have sent out an email. We will look into the Nerd Guy situation and see if we can get that rectified. But thank you for following up on that, Hector. All right, Finn writes, "Hey, John and crew. I just wanted to say have a great Christmas and thank you for helping get through 2019. I had a rough year, but your show each day helped me stay grounded through it all. Thank you to all the hosts for making me smile on my darkest days." Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Finn. And, we do talk a lot about on this show about how it is absolutely flooring to us and amazing that the art of movies and the fan community that rally around them can be such a great and healthy and rejuvenating and oasis of a place for us. Again, when I'm having a rough day or rough week or whatever, I always get these momentary oases that help me rejuvenate my mind, get a fresh perspective by watching movies or talking to fellow film fans. And when I come out, the crap is still there. Like the whatever problems I have going on in my life are still there. It's just that I come with it now with a different perspective, a little bit of a refreshed mind to deal with it a little bit better. And that's the magic of movies and the magic, I believe, of the film fan community. So I'm really glad that our film fan community has been part of that for you, Finn, as I'm sure you have been part of it for somebody else. So thanks for sharing that story, man, and we appreciate it. And may we all have a wonderful 2020. All right, Slim Trav writes, "With films like Terminator, Gemini Man, Wonder Park, Playing with Fire bombing this year, and likely flops like Sonic coming in 2020, is Paramount in trouble?" We've been talking about that for a while, Slim. Yeah. Now listen, Paramount is a century-old company. It has had and will have bumps in the road. A bad year is not like for small businesses or whatever, yeah, a bad year will kill you. For a company like Paramount, a bad year doesn't kill you. But Rob, a bad year has been getting longer and longer. It's not just a bad year anymore.
A decade.
They need another Mission Impossible tomorrow, followed by a Bumblebee sequel, followed by something. They need to start having some hits, because even a company like Paramount only has so much money, and eventually it starts to run out. And I don't think they're hitting the panic button yet, but they're not in a good place, Rob. They're not in a good. How would you define their situation? Would you see they're in trouble at this point?
Yeah, because, they were owed money by Chinese companies and things like that. But, John, something tells me that they feel the need for speed, and it's going to turn that place around.
So you're thinking that's going to be a big hit? You think Top Gun 2 is going to be a big hit?
I do. I mean, who knows how much people remember Top Gun? I mean, you think about it, in 2020, it's a 34-year-old movie. But I think people are excited. I think I watched that featurette on the aerial photography they put up on YouTube in the film. I mean, it's astonishing. And if it's good and it captures that kind of magic, I think it's something that is worth getting excited about. And CBS has announced, CBS and Viacom, now that the bifurcation is over, I think we're going to see a lot more things being made at Paramount that they own. And if they've talked about doing Beverly Hills Cop with Netflix, and if they really expand, they've got their own streaming service that's already right there, that they're not necessarily, they're going to be feeding into it, but they're not going to be assuming as much of the risk as they would if they were starting their own streaming service. So I think Giannopoulos, the head of Paramount, is really going to bring the studio back, because I love Paramount, and I would really like to see, how many studios are going to be left, and I want to see Paramount survive this, come out of it, and become financially viable and the powerhouse it was in, say, the early 90s, when we were getting hit after hit after hit from them. Things like, Hunt for Red October. And I'm hoping that maybe Top Gun Maverick, which, that's a Paramount property that they owned. It's not like Transformers that was brought in by DreamWorks. They own Top Gun, and I want to see Paramount. I want to climb that mountain once again, John.
But it's going to take more than one movie.
I know,
but one movie will help. You make $300 million in profit on a movie, that'll carry you a long way. So
I'm just hoping they've got a lot of potential in place, but man, they are going to have to weather that sonic storm.
Yeah, because that's not going to be a good one for them either. No. All right, guys, let's keep rolling here. We're going to try to get through all the questions here today, so we're going to start moving at a little bit of a higher pace here. Hector Jeter writes, Merry Christmas to you, John, and your crew. I wish you a safe travels when you go back to visit Canada. Over under 15% that the finale to The Mandalorian will be between 60 and 90 minutes. Well, yes, thank you very much, and I head back to Canada on Boxing Day, the day after Christmas. I go under 15%. I think it'll be longer. I think it'll even be the longest episode yet. But longest episode yet, I think, means, not counting credits and everything,
right?
47, 48. I'm going to say maybe around 50 minutes. I think maybe 50 to 55 minutes. Rob, how long do you think this final episode of The Mandalorian will be?
I think that's pretty accurate. I don't see why they would go beyond 60 or 90. I mean, I think that they're going to keep it.
I hope they do.
I mean, it would be great, but I think part of the appeal of The Mandalorian is, at first I was a little disappointed that it was not longer, but I think these shows, they are just as long as they need to be, and I've liked the format. And leaving off on a cliffhanger, and it looks like I'm sure this finale is going to be rock'em sock'em wham bam, and it's going to leave us very satisfied. So I think under 60, I think you're probably pretty correct about that.
The last episode certainly sets us up for a great finale. That's for sure. All right. Snake writes, I believe that Disney's proclamation about Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker being the end of the Skywalker saga is complete BS and simply a marketing strategy to generate hype. Eventually, we will get another episodic trilogy also attached to the Skywalker legacy. You know what, Snake? I disagree. Now, Kathleen Kennedy, at the Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker premiere, said, this might not be the last story involving Skywalkers, but it is the end of the Skywalker saga. And I do believe that eventually we are going to get Star Wars Episode 10. but I think it's going to be a news story. I think we could see Rey or Poe or Finn, whatever, pop up in another movie. I believe we can see existing characters and all that kind of stuff. But I don't think that when we do get around, Rob, and I do believe we are going to get a Star Wars Episode 10 at some point, I don't believe it's going to be about anything Skywalker related or this particular story related. I think it'll be a new story, the next chapter, Star Wars Episode 10. So that's how I kind of see it doing. What do you think about that?
No, I think you're right. I think, look, they've closed this chapter out. I think they've learned a lot about producing Star Wars films. And I think if they do bring Kevin Feige in, like, it would not surprise me in the least if this announcement they're going to make about Star Wars 2022, whatever that's going to be, it's going to be Kevin Feige and Jon Favreau teaming up again. I think that would be a way to go. That's something the studio can get behind, the fans can get behind. People are going to get excited about that. I have no knowledge one way or another, but I think we're going to see something different. I think we're going to explore. The Mandalorian has proved that people can get really excited about something Star Wars that has nothing to do with the Skywalker saga. And I think we're going to see anyone that read the EU or read comics knows that's true. But I think they have a very, look, Baby Yoda, who would have thought Baby Yoda is probably the MVP of the end of 2019? Baby Yoda has permeated every facet of culture. Everybody loves Baby Yoda, and that's the way Star Wars was when I was a kid. Star Wars was in the air and everywhere, and Baby Yoda has brought that Star Wars back to the pop culture zeitgeist. So I don't think you need the Skywalker saga. It's been closed out. Let's see another facet or aspect of the Star Wars universe we've never seen before. I think it's going to be cool. I'm excited.
All right, let's move on here. Next one up is Sir Ivan Bennett, who writes, speaking of Watchmen, have you guys read the Peteypedia pages on HBO's website? Lots of background info into the characters, just like the book. No, I have not. Have you, Rob?
Oh, yeah, and they're great. The Peteypedia stuff. Petey was, of course, Laurie Blake's partner from the FBI who went to Tulsa with her. And he's clearly a superhero sycophant. And the sycophantic nature of him is definitely, and it's very geeky and it's very, very in-depth. And it's actually really interesting reading. They did a great job with that.
Next up comes to us from Mason Larkins, who writes, can't believe I'm saying this, but the comic book movie I'm most excited for is, boom, Venom 2, with Circus behind the camera and Woody as Carnage. Oh my God, I cannot wait. Merry Christmas, John and crew. Well, thank you so much, Mason, and great minds think alike. But in all seriousness, the thing about Venom is, other than Morbius, I think Venom is also the one with the widest quality potential gap. What I mean by that is this.
That's interesting.
When you start with how good is its potential and how bad is its potential? Like, how bad could this movie be versus how good could this movie be? Yeah. There are some where like, I think Wonder Woman 84 could be this good, which is great. But I think it could only possibly, if it was bad, it could only possibly be this bad, So there's not a big gap there. I think Venom has the potential to be this good, but the potential to be this bad.
Yeah.
So it's got the widest potential gap to me. But I'm going in optimistic. Rob, when you look at all the films coming out this year, which one do you think has that widest potential gap? Like, it could possibly be this bad, could possibly be this good. What do you think? Which film do you think has the widest gap there?
I think it's Birds of Prey.
Really? You think it's got that high potential to be great?
Yeah, because I think, I do. I don't know why, just because she was in it, but I'm hoping that Birds of Prey is the Wolf of Wall Street of comic book movies. If that makes any sense at all. I don't know why I feel that way, but I'm hoping it'll be like that. I would like to see that movie come out and surprise everybody. It doesn't. The trailers didn't sell me on it, but I want it to be that way. Whereas Venom, look, I think that Venom 2, if nothing else, it's probably going to be a lot of fun. I mean, I think after they know what Andy Serkis is, a smart guy. I'm sure that the script has been more refined. You've got Tom Hardy and you've got Woody Harrelson, two powerhouse actors. And I think they're really going to get a handle. I think I'm really expecting Venom 2, like I said, to be the Dark Knight of the Venom franchise. I think they've got all of their ducks in a row. So I don't see the potential there as being It isn't going to be a failure in my mind. I don't think there's any way it'll fail. I think it can only be good and fun to great and fun. Whereas I do see Birds of Prey is either going to be a complete dumpster fire or it's going to be something special. I don't think it's going to be in the middle.
All right, let's move on here. Faye Haberfeld writes, hey, John, just so you're aware, Uncut Gems is releasing on Netflix worldwide in January, except in America. I would highly suggest watching it in theaters if you haven't yet. It comes out this week at AMC. Also, have you seen 1917 yet? I have not seen 1917 yet. I've had no time to go to any pressers at all, and I generally don't go to a lot of pressers, and I make very few exceptions. But yeah, that came up a little bit earlier. I am desperate to see both of these films, though. I'm really excited to watch both of these films. I think we're going to have to see them both in Canada, but I don't know if Uncut Gems is going to be playing in Canada. So I'll figure out a way to watch it. I'll get one of my friends in one of the awards bodies to give me their screener for it, and I'll get caught up on it that way. All right, Robbie Rocket writes, Santa exists in the DC universe just like in real life, and Superman is susceptible to magic. Do you think Santa Claus could beat up Superman? Ooh, no. No, he could not beat up Superman. Now, he maybe could cast some kind of magical elven incantation from across the planet, but no, Santa. Now, remember, Superman is susceptible to magic, but it's not that, oh, if you've got the simplest magic trick, it kills Superman. It's susceptible. Just like I'm susceptible to a right cross, but just because you throw a right cross doesn't mean you're going to win the fight, you know? So it really depends. Yeah, Khabib is susceptible. Well, Khabib is susceptible to nothing. So that's a bad example. But anyway, no, Santa could not. And even though he's very real, he couldn't beat Superman. Rob, do you disagree?
I just think that they would find some common ground, John, and there wouldn't be.
They'll work it out. They'll have a Martha moment. Work it out. They'll have a Martha moment. It'll all be good.
Santa would look at the list and realize, Kal-El, you've been quite good this year, just like you were quite good last year and the year
Brand
before.
New Fortress of Solitude for you, near my workshop in the North Pole.
Heck, you know what? Neighbors. They should team up, man. They should team up and build.
Santa
some
should
great
move the
complex.
workshop into the fortress. There you go. Rob just solved all the problems. He just solved all the problems right there.
That is a DC Comics crossover I want to see.
All right, Just Too Tasty Good writes, which is the best Oscar-winning actor performance of the decade between Daniel Day-Lewis in Lincoln, Matthew McConaughey in Dallas Buyers Club, Casey Affleck in Manchester by the Sea, or J.K. Simmons in Whiplash? Well, it's actually Daniel Day-Lewis in There Will Be Blood. That's the correct answer. J.K. Simmons, by the way, his performance was as a supporting actor, so keep that in mind. But out of just the ones you've mentioned, still Daniel Day-Lewis in Lincoln. Still Daniel Day-Lewis in Lincoln. Rob, if you had to pick one of just those performances, which one do you go for?
Dude, I had bought Lincoln on Blu-ray and I didn't watch it, and it was on the top of my stack forever. I ended up watching it 4 times in a week. I was so mesmerized. All day, every day. The GOAT, as you call him. Daniel Day-Lewis is the man.
He is. He's the GOAT. I mean, he's just the GOAT. All right. Jay Bling writes, the law of diminishing returns is a moot point regarding the opening weekend number for Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, because in addition to how high it opened, it's the end of the Skywalker saga. Future Star Wars films will likely be opening lower regardless. Well, I mean, yes and no, but I mean, to be fair, you'd be saying that about Avengers films too, right? The MCU, like it's an Avengers film versus Ant-Man 3. Right? I mean, so you don't compare them on the same scales because one is the Avengers or the compared, if you're transcending those, you've got the Star Wars episodic movies and the actual Avengers movies. Then you have the anthology movies, like whether it's a Rogue One or whatever, versus like Ant-Man 3. So we hold those ones on a kind of a different scale. But again, to me, anybody trying to paint $176 million opening, one of the biggest openings in film history, as some sort of negative thing, I just think you have to force yourself to try to make it look like a negative thing. And again, we're talking about a movie I don't like. So
I got a question for you, John.
All right, here it is.
According to Box Office Mojo, the 4-day total of The Rise of Skywalker is 177,383,864. All right. But the 4-day total for The Force Awakens was 288,076,417. So it's outgrossed in 4 days Rise of Skywalker is trailing 110 million behind The Force Awakens.
Right.
So what do you think?
I think that The Force Awakens is also the highest grossing domestic film in history, more than Avengers Endgame.
Yes.
It is the highest. So you can, okay, let's pull out Joker. Let's compare Joker to the Force Awakens. Do we then look at Joker's results and say, oh, wow. Well, actually, Joker's results were really disappointing because Star Wars The Force Awakens made so much more. Of course not.
Yeah.
The Joker result is fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think you have to phrase it as you need to look at each film's individual performance. And by the way, Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker completely blew Joker away when it comes to its opening 4-day performance and stuff like that. Whether it'll make as much at the end of the day, that's going to be another conversation to have later. But yeah, look, I liken that question, Rob, unto, you know, I just saw this movie and it was really good. And then somebody saying to me, okay, but how does it compare to The Godfather?
Right.
Well,
right.
The Godfather is one of the greatest motion pictures of all time. Clearly, it doesn't compare favorably to The Godfather, if that's what you're going to do. And Star Wars The Force Awakens is the #1 box office film domestically of all time. So, yeah, almost everything you compare to Star Wars The Force Awakens box office run is going to look bad in comparison.
Yeah.
And certainly Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker looks bad in comparison to Avengers Endgame's opening, Star Wars The Force Awakens. Absolutely it does. But a lot of fabulously performing opening weekend films are still fabulous performing opening weekends, even though they don't compare to an Endgame or a Force Awakens or something along those lines. So that's how I would answer that personally.
I can't argue with that.
Okay, we still got a few more to go through here, guys. So we're going to start firing here really quick. Regan Crisp writes, what was your favorite story to report on in 2019? Mine was the bombastic opening weekend for Avengers Endgame. That was really something to behold. Looking forward to hearing yours. I couldn't tell you, Regan, off the top of my head. I'd have to sit back and go look. But listen, that is one that stands right out there, Rob, because I don't think in an era where we're talking about 100 million opening, 200 million opening, everybody throws these huge numbers around all the time now. I don't think people fully appreciated what it is we just saw happen with Avengers Endgame. This is a record that is not going to be broken for a very, very, very long time. And I don't think enough people appreciated just how momentous both the opening weekend number was and its overall box office total. It's not going to be touched for many years. Right. What would you think was the top story of the year?
Well, I think it's probably that. I mean, it really is, because as far as movie goes, the culmination of it was 22 movies, 23 was Spider-Man, but what was accomplished and what the fact that Avengers Endgame represents, talk about sticking the landing of a 22 film odyssey. It's amazing. The accomplishment is amazing. And I have to tell you, John, I had more fun in Endgame. I can't remember the last time I had as much fun in a movie theater.
You saw it for the first time with me, right? I took you to we went to the Disney lot, right? And watched it. That was your first time watching it. Yeah. That was a fun day, man. That was a fun day. All right. Tristan Riera writes, Merry Christmas from France, John. Merci beaucoup, mon ami. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Tristan. And may you have a wonderful holiday season too, my friend. And thank you for being a part of our film fan community, even all the way from France. All right. Av Kali writes, do you think during Wonder Woman 84 we will have a cameo of Robert Pattinson? Rumor has it the new Batman movie will take place in the 80s. Nope. Ain't going to happen. And I'll tell you why it's not going to happen. Anything is possible in a comic book movie. So let's keep that in mind. But the reason I do not believe that's going to happen is Hamada's modus operandi right now, his guiding philosophy is we are not looking at crossovers. We are looking at each individual film and for the heroes to stand on their own. Even in Aquaman, there wasn't even a reference to Justice League other than you battled Steppenwolf. That's it. That's the only reference to anything in Justice League whatsoever. So I believe that's his philosophy. So no, I do not believe we're going to see Robert Pattinson in Wonder Woman. This is going to be her own standalone movie. Rob, what do you think? Any chance we see our Pattinson there?
I doubt it. I mean, if you do that, you're throwing off the continuity I think it would just be confusing to anybody that's watching it going, wait a minute, how does Robert Pattinson's Batman exist with Gal Gadot when we know that Batman exists in the future with Superman and Aquaman, even though they're going to do standalone films? I have a feeling, John, that the Wonder Woman is going to be erased from the collective memory of the people of 1984 somehow. That's why they've got to pay some kind of respect continuity, but who knows? But yeah, no, I think that's a big negatory, good buddy. Batman.
I don't think they're going to do that. All right, Simon writes, are you going to watch Lost in Space Season 2 today? Merry Christmas, Giovanni and Rob. Well, I'm absolutely not going to be watching it today.
Yeah, me neither.
Way too much to do today. So no, I'm not even 100% sure I'm going to watch it. Like, I watched Season 1 and I liked it, but it didn't live up to its own potential. And so Again, I still got to get through The Expanse. I've got a lot of other things I got to watch, and I just don't have the time. So I'm definitely not watching it today. And I may watch it, but I'm not 100% sure. Rob, did you watch Lost in Space Season 1?
I did. And I have to tell you, the trailer for Season 2 looks epic. So
it does. But the trailers for Season 1 look great too. What did you think of Season 1? I'm curious.
I feel the same way you did. I liked Season 1, but I didn't love Season 1. I liked the production values. I liked the actors, but the storyline was interesting, but I didn't love it. And by the way, before I dive into that, I have to finish Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. That's next on the agenda. And
I haven't watched a new season of that either. I'm behind on that.
It's so far, it's delightful. I've seen the first 2 episodes, and so yeah, I mean, we live in an embarrassment of riches, so I can't complain.
All right, next up, Nerds of Porn writes, love you, John, buddy, but you're dead wrong about The Rise of Skywalker. Nope, I'm 100% right, but that's just my opinion, and so is yours, and your opinion is no more and no less valid than mine. All right, James Lockman writes, want to wish you, Rob, Aaron, Chris, and all the viewers a very merry Amel Kalikama. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that. 3 of my favorite holiday movies I love to watch are Elf, It's a Wonderful Life, and Wizard of Oz. I mean, yeah, and that's, by the way, Wizard of Oz is not a Christmas movie, but Wizard of Oz has been a part of my family's Christmas tradition my whole life. Like, Wizard of Oz is just that, the Alastair Sim Christmas Carol, and which is obviously very much a Christmas movie, but then Wizard of Oz. It's just been a part of our Christmas tradition. And I don't know why, because it's really not a Christmas movie, but we watch it. Have you had that too, Rob? Has that been a part of your Christmas tradition?
No, not really, but I can see why. Wizard of Oz with the red slippers and the colors and the munchkins, they're just offshoots of the elves in the North Pole, after all. Somehow, the wonderful land of Oz, maybe Santa just escaped from there once and people forgot about him.
He actually came from Oz. That's where Santa came from.
He just relocated. Better real estate prices, probably.
He's trying to get out of LA. All right. Christopher Benson writes, just bought the $250 Lego 1989 Batmobile. I didn't realize it consists of over 3,000 pieces. Thank God for whiskey and pizza rolls. I'll tell you what, Christopher, good luck on that, by the way. I have never been a Lego guy. Well, that's not true. When I was younger, I was into Lego a lot for a little bit, but I'm not a big Lego guy. But I'll tell you what, Rob. Remember just a couple years ago, that Star Destroyer Lego piece came out?
Dude, they just released a new version of it this year.
But how much was it?
The new one's $700.
Yeah, I remember it was getting close to the $1,000 mark.
And you can buy lights for it now? Dude, you got to get that.
I not only would I have to spend $700, which I'm a cheap son of a bitch.
Come on.
Not only would I have to spend $700, then I'd have to hire some high school kid just to come in to put it together for me, because I ain't going to spend that time putting that thing together.
I built the first one.
Did you?
They put
Wait a minute, you have the first one?
Well, it's now in pieces. The problem with the first one was very rickety. And I did have it in my office, but I desperately want to get this new one because it's so cool. It's just better. There's actually a YouTube video. Somebody did a YouTube video comparing and contrasting the original one with this one, and the new one is far superior.
How big is it?
Great? Oh, it's like you can't really see my hands. I think it's like 3 feet across. I mean, it's huge, dude. It's huge. And not only that,
it sounds tempting.
You can set it up high. You can move it. It really looks great because even though it's made of Legos, it still looks just like a Star Destroyer. And it's really impressive. And you can actually have it hanging because the weight is in the back. So you can put it up high and you can have it hanging off a shelf. It's pretty great, dude. You got to get it. Come on.
It's
Why don't we have a build party?
$700. You know how many families I could feed for $700?
Why don't you and I both get one, and we'll do a live thing, and we'll just both build ours together, and we'll talk for 7 hours.
Do you know how bad I would look in that video? I'd be like, I have no idea where any of this goes. I swear, within about 20 minutes, I'll be in tears. I'll literally cry, I can't do this.
I'm telling you, we should do it, man. We should do it.
A live 7-hour stream of us trying to put together Star Destroyers. I don't know. That sounds like fun. I just know I would be a huge embarrassment on it. But
why don't we get like 5 people, and we could do it on your gaming table, and we can all build them?
I mean,
come on. I know you're thinking about it.
Maybe if we got one and we together tried to build it and did like a big long live stream of that, set up a couple cameras around the gaming table. I don't know. That might be fun. That might be fun. Let me think about that. I don't know that I have the patience for it, but let me see.
Yes, you do.
All right. Let's see. Tacky75 writes, in my honest opinion, the only character whose standing improved with the new Star Wars movies is Chewbacca. I disagree. And I'm not going to go into details or into any spoilers. I would say C-3PO. I think this was like, look, R2-D2 throughout all the Star Wars movies has been given a lot of moments to shine throughout all the Star Wars movies. C-3PO really never has. And they gave him his due, I believe, finally in this last film. So I would suggest 3PO really was improved his standing. What do you think?
I think you're absolutely right. I loved 3PO in this movie. It was so great to see Anthony Daniels get such a great role. And how funny was he?
Oh, so funny. Again,
So funny.
We're not going to give any examples or give anything away. 3PO was hilarious. I actually thought, even though I don't like the movie, I thought this movie had, out of all Star Wars movies, even the original trilogy, I thought their use of humor was maybe the best I've ever seen in a Star Wars movie. It was funny. That was really funny, and not like eye-rolling. It was actually really funny. I laughed a lot in this movie. And I thought that was one of the strengths of the film myself, personally. All right. Rich from Queens writes in a large super chat. Thank you so much for that, Rich, and supporting the channel on that level. I'm going to keep bugging you with this. LOL. You hear that whisper when Thor is approaching Captain Marvel right before the hammer scene. Instead of my foolish X-Men theory, could it be someone from the quantum realm? No more questions about this, I promise. Again, Rich, I can't say you're wrong. I certainly can't say you're wrong, because I need to go downstairs, sit down, hit play, listen to the damn thing. But I mean, if somebody was needing to sell an emergency message from the quantum realm, is the message, I have telepathy? Is that the message they send? If you are sending a message from the quantum realm to another reality, is your message, I have brown hair? Is that your message? So no, I think if anything, but again, I got to go and listen to it myself. But I think if it is there, and let's assume for a second that it is, if it is there, it's probably some little thing that one of the people working on the movie, they decided to kind of slip in there just for fun to see if somebody would catch it, much like the sex thing in that. But I don't know. So no, I don't think it's an X-Men tie-in. I don't think it's something from the quantum realm. I don't think it was something that was meant to have any relevance, even if it's there, because clearly nobody even knew it was there.
Right.
So if it was meant to have any kind of relevance to the universe, then they did it badly. So I don't know, Rich. I got to go down and listen to myself, because Rob, you should do the same. You should pop that in and see if you hear it, and then maybe next time. I don't know. Maybe we will do a show on Thursday. Who knows? Because I leave for Canada Thursday night, but not till 1 to the evening. So maybe we'll do a John Campea show on Thursday as well. But anyway, check it out. And then let's talk about it more in detail in there. So I'm not undermining your opinion here, Rich. I'm just saying, even if it's there, which it very well could be, the message being, I have telepathy. Why would that be the message, and what's that supposed to indicate? I'm not sure, but we'll find out. All right. Last 2 questions of the day, guys. Sushi writes, who's your daddy and what does he do? Of course, from my favorite action film of all time, I believe, if I'm not, and what does he do? That's True Lies, is it not? Is that not True Lies? I think that's True Lies. Oh God, I love that movie so much.
It's streaming, by the way. I think I saw it on Netflix or something.
Really?
recently, and I watched the first. I hadn't seen, because True Lies is not available on Blu-ray, so I probably haven't seen it in over 10 years, and I put it on. Dude, that whole opening scene, I mean, James Cameron is just firing on all cylinders, doing his James Bond homage. Schwarzenegger infiltrates the party. There's skiing in it. It's so good.
Oh God, I haven't watched True Lies in a couple of years, and it's my all-time favorite action movie.
It's so good.
Oh, so good. All right, here. Let's see here. Av Cali writes, Rogue One is far superior than 789.
Oh,
How
7,
can that-
8, and 9.
Oh,
Rogue
then
One is far
7,
superior to
8,
7,
and
8,
9.
9.
Oh, I disagree. I disagree. I love Rogue One. I love Rogue One very much. It's my second favorite of the new Star Wars films. I really, really love Rogue One. But to me, the gold standard of the new Star Wars movies is the Phantom Menace, is the Force Awakens. That movie just I loved it the first time I saw it, and it just got better and better every time I watched it. And I think that is by far the best. Now, I do think Rogue One is better than The Last Jedi. I do think Rogue One is better clearly than The Rise of Skywalker. But I don't think it compares to The Force Awakens. That's just me. What JJ did on that first movie, I just love and adore and all that kind of stuff. Where would you rank Rogue One, Rob, on the scale?
I think it might be my favorite.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I think there will be some other people who think that as well.
The more that I watch that movie, look, my only complaint about that film is I would have liked to have it been, say, 20 minutes longer, and we meet all the characters in their milieu. Like, I would have liked to have seen them protecting the Kyber crystals, and the Empire shows up, and we'd have to see them protecting it and things like that. So we got more of the characters. But I really love that film, and the more I watch it, the better it gets. And the space battle at the end, dude. It's so good. It's so epic.
So great.
It's just, I love it. I mean, when that little Corvette pushes the Star Destroyer into the other Star Destroyer, I'm like, yes, I love that.
It was
John,
great.
if we had 2 Lego Star Destroyers, we could recreate that scene.
Yeah, but if I spent 7 hours putting that together, I ain't pushing them into each other. I am just not. It's like, no way. What is it? The Crackle? I'm pulling out the Crackle from Lego Movie, and I am sealing that whole thing together. If I actually put all that time into it, I am like dumping buckets of glue on it to make sure it never moves. Like, never moves. All right. Last question of the day comes to us from Jay Master, who sends in a $50 super chat. So, Jay, we're going to be answering your question in its own standalone video. Jay Master writes, Hey, John and crew, have you seen the new series Pick the Litter on Disney Plus? It's about 6 adorable dogs on their quest to be guides for the blind. Also, over under 10%, the Seahawks beat the 49ers again. And Merry Christmas from Seattle. Well, no, unfortunately, I haven't seen that show. I've not even heard of that show, to be honest with you. So no, I haven't seen that show. Honestly, the only things I've really watched on Disney Plus are Mandalorian and the Jeff Goldblum show. Yeah. So I haven't really had much time to explore too awful much. So no, I've not seen that. Over under 10%, the Seahawks beat the 49ers. Oh, I'll go way. Yeah, I'll take over. Now, I think the 49ers go to the Super Bowl. But 10%? Oh, no. No. The Seahawks are just, they didn't look so good against the Cardinals, granted.
That's putting it mildly.
But, this is a very, very good team. So I give them far better than a 10%. Like, if I had to put $5 on it, I think the 49ers are going to the Super Bowl. But way more than 10%. Rob, what would you say?
I'm going to go more than 10% too. And I don't know if you saw this, John, but Marshawn Lynch
is coming back.
Talking about coming back, and look, the Seahawks, to be fair, the Seahawks had a lot of injuries in that last game.
Yes, they did.
They lost a lot of their good defensive guys. That's why I think they went. I don't know how the Marshawn Lynch thing came about, but I hope they give him all the Skittles he wants, because we need some beast mode to help us out late in the season.
Yep.
I would love to see that last San Francisco game was a barn burner and one for the ages. I would love to see the Seahawks pull it out. I think they got better than a 10% chance.
Watching Marshawn Lynch pop it into AARP mode.
Come on, dude. He's still the beast.
I hope so. Because, man, seriously, back in 2014, 15, when he turned it on, I used to just love it. It reminded me a lot of watching Adrian Peterson when he was in his prime. Adrian Peterson would attack defenders. And Marshawn Lynch and Adrian Peterson, they both had that characteristic. When they saw a defender, it's almost like they would change direction to head towards that defender because they wanted to hit the defender.
Yeah.
They literally would hit and punish defenders to make them think twice about even wanting to tackle them. I mean, it was so fun to watch. I would love it if he can turn on that magic again. I would love it. I have my doubts, but I would love it if he did. So here's hoping. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show on this Christmas Eve. There will not be a John Campea Show tomorrow. That's Christmas Day, just so you all know. But there will be a John Campea Show on Thursday. I just decided that a little bit early. Yes, you know what? I just been thinking I can't do a show Thursday because I'm traveling, but I'm not traveling till well after dinner. So we're going to have a John Campea Show on Thursday. So make sure you guys come on back and join me for that as well. I want to thank, of course, the one and the only, beaming in from, I keep forgetting what he's calling his,
the Robservatory.
The Robservatory, the Robzulium, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, where can people find you and your adventures online?
Well, you can find me on Instagram at Robert Meyer Burnett, find me on Twitter at BurnettRM, or find me on my own YouTube channel, The Burnett Work, and my show Robservations, which is going to have its 300th show on Thursday afternoon. So join me then.
And of course, guys, follow me on all the social medias, simply at John Campea. Guys, have a wonderful holiday break. I hope you guys just have some fantastic, relaxing, enjoying plans to be surrounded by friends, family, loved ones, or if you just need a little bit of me time, just all by yourself with a good book, some music, whatever it is that you're looking forward to. Maybe you're going to watch some NBA basketball on Christmas Day. You do what you need to do to charge up those batteries, everybody. And we will, of course, be back again on Thursday. All right, guys, thanks so much for being here, my friends. Of course, just a reminder to everybody who is a Patreon supporter, and if you're connected to the Discord server, make sure you're coming over to the Discord server. In about 10 or 15 minutes, I'll be jumping in there as well for our John Campea Show post-show chat. Make sure you guys coming over and join me there. That will do it for me for now, guys. Thank you so much for being here. My name is John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.